all for coming this afternoon to see Jolene Brackey, our nationally renowned speaker on Alzheimer's and the author of Creating Moments of Joy. And then I just have to make sure to remind you that presentations like these are made possible through the generous support of Minnesota's Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, which was established in 2008 by you, the voters of Minnesota. So thank you all, and then please help me welcome Jolene Brackey.
Hello, hello, hello. I only have an hour, so we're just going to jump right in if you don't mind. Yes. She did forget to tell you that I have an interior design degree. I did take 5 years of schooling to get that. Only lasted 3 months because I didn't like my job. And I quit and I took a position across the street in an Alzheimer's community. At the time, I didn't know what that was. I just knew that I liked hanging out with older people. And if you are a caregiver, you realize that I got to go on some pretty cheap trips without even leaving the floor. Yep, and then other people, I would say, hey, I care for people with Alzheimer's, and their reaction to me was usually, that's such a horrible disease, and I think, I'd rather hang out with them than you. So I would want to focus on the positive side of dementia, because I think too often we focus on the negative side. But the first thing that I would like you all to do is go back to your childhood. It's going to take a bit. You're going to have to go way back. I would like you to go back to your childhood and think of something from your childhood that makes you feel good when you think about it. Anything that happened, you're like, that was fun. It could be time spent with grandma, building a birdhouse. It could be walking through the woods. It could be a dollhouse that you had. It could be playing ball with the neighborhood kids. I don't really know, but think of at least one thing. Take yourself back. I don't want the one where you're smacking your brother, locking him in the closet. I know that feels good, but that's not what we're shooting for this afternoon. Anyone, fond childhood memories, something that when you think about it, you're like, that was fun, had a good time. You're gonna have to chat a little bit for a moment. Anyone? No one had any fond childhood memories. It was horrible.
Camp. I went to camp.
You went to camp, and where did you go to camp?
Trout Lake.
Salt Lake?
Trout Lake.
Trout Lake.
Way up in Pine River, Minnesota.
Way up in Pine River, Minnesota. And did you have siblings that you went with, or was this just all by yourself?
I went 3 or 4 by myself, and then another year my parents paid for my cousin to come.
Nice, very good. And your favorite thing about Trout Lake?
Well, the woods and the outdoor activities, like I was a Boy Scout, similar stuff.
Yeah. You learned how to do a little survival. Swimming? Very good. So when he's talking about camp, how many of you got to go to a camp? Trout Lake camp. Oh, look at all the memories that you triggered. There's lots of people who got to go to camps. Nicely done. Another fond childhood memory, it was you, yes.
It was actually related in a number of ways. I just think about being out in a fishing boat, just a little rowboat with my cousins up at my grandma's house, which was near a lake. So we'd go out and I got to hang out with my older cousins, and they were cool. And
they were cool.
Nice. They were all boys, so I was the girl, and they were next to me.
Yay! Did you notice the details? I got to hang out with my cousins, and they were boys, and I was like the only girl, and we were on a rowboat. When she even said rowboat, how many of you felt like, oh, that sounds lovely right now? Just the whole rowboat concept without a motor, and you get to putz around all day long. How many memories does that trigger for others? How many of you had a rowboat that you got to just putz around the lake? Nice. So would you have thought of that moment right this minute had I not asked you to? Would you have thought about your cousins and rowboating around the lake right this minute had I not asked you to? Would you have thought about going to camp? So it takes something to trigger our moments in our memory. And you have details in those moments. People with Alzheimer's have these moments, but they're not able to pull out of the darkness a moment. You're gonna have to see a rowboat on a lake to trigger one of their moments in their memory. You might have to do something like build a fire, something you do at camp to trigger a moment in their memory. Now, can anyone in here create a perfectly wonderful day from morning till night? Nothing goes wrong, everything is peachy when you're caring for people with dementia. Oh, yeah, raise your hand and I'll take you home with me. We know that it is not possible to create a perfectly wonderful day. It does not exist. Every single one of you in this room, though, can create a perfectly wonderful moment. Any of you can build a fire, create a perfectly wonderful moment. Any one of you can take them to the park, watch a rowboat go by, create a perfectly wonderful moment. Any one of you can bake cookies, create a perfectly wonderful moment. 5 minutes later, do they remember what you said? No. 5 minutes later, do they remember what you did? No. You know what they do remember 5 minutes later? The feeling that you left them with. So if they love that roast beef and mashed potatoes that you just made, that good feeling lingers on. When she was talking about paddling, it's the same thing. It leaves us with a feeling, and that good feeling lingers on. So if we're all creating a moment that helps them to feel better, who's going to get a better day, not a perfect day? Absolutely every one of us. But we have to understand people with Alzheimer's before we do this. Understand that they lose their short-term memory. How do you know they lose their short-term memory? What do? Repeat the same question over and over and over again. And if you said to them, what did you have for lunch? Because it was, noon a little while ago, what would they say? I didn't get anything. I don't remember. Right? What if you talked to them about the weekend and how you hung out with cousins this weekend at the family reunion? What would they say? I wish I would have been invited. Nobody told me, even though they were there, correct? So we know that they lose their short-term memory, but the positive side of this disease is they retain childhood memories to more detail. So whose responsibility is it to chat about Trout Lake instead of what you have for lunch today? Ours. Whose responsibility is it to chat about the cousins and going out on the paddle boat? Ours. Every conversation you have with someone, make sure it's focusing on the memories that they still have, not what did you do this morning. All right? So, the other thing that's a bit more confusing, as the disease progresses, they get younger in their mind. In other words, you lose more and more memory. How do we know they lose more and more memory? Who do they look for? Their children. But when their children come in, Mama, you remember me? Tell me who I am. When their children come in, they come in as what? Adults. And what kids are they looking for? They're looking for their little kids. So it's important that you don't get the message that this person will forget you, because I don't agree with that message. They simply don't recognize you by the way you are with them. Make sense? So why would I ask a kid to bend down if they're visiting their parent? They would appear to be a child. In fact, I'm going to even consider the boy should put on a ball cap and a t-shirt, right? So he looks more like a child. There may be a moment of recollection because of the height that I am to Mom. Give me the name of one of your kids and I would like to teach him or her how to be with you.
Tiffany.
Tiffany. And your first name?
Marilyn.
Marilyn. So when and if Marilyn has dementia, I'm going to teach Tiffany how to do this. Tiffany, do you have a picture of yourself when you're about 7? Yes? Okay. And I get the picture and I go, Marilyn, Tiffany is adorable. She's such a good little girl.
I know her.
I know, and look at, you put her hair in pigtails this day. Yeah, she was a pretty good student, smart like her mama. When you test a person with dementia, what are you doing? Aggravating them and setting them up to fail? Yeah, when you ask them, who is this? You've asked them to remember and talk in a complete sentence, both of which can be very difficult. So my role is just to give her Tiffany back. But I'm going to tell you, she might tell a story about Tiffany. Tiffany doesn't even know. She might point at that little girl and say, I love that little girl. But as long as Tiffany's visiting like this, Mama, who am I?
I don't know you.
Who am I? Tell me my name. And then Tiffany will stop visiting because Tiffany thinks, what's the point? Number one reason people stop visiting.
They don't remember who they are.
They don't know how to do this. People don't know how to do this, and they're thinking, she's forgotten me. I don't want to know her in this way. I want to remember my mom the way she used to be. It's very hard. But can I tell you, You know who they are. You know who they are. Who's the best person to give Tiffany back to Marilyn? The memories of Tiffany. Who's the best person to give Tiffany back to Marilyn? Tiffany. I can't do that. So if Tiffany stops visiting, we've lost memory. Does that make sense? Our role as families, as friends, as neighbors is to give them their memory back. Now, when you find something that makes this person feel good in this moment, you might want to tell everybody how to do that, how to stop by. Because if you don't teach other people how to stop by, they're going to come in and go, "What'd you have for lunch today?" Can she answer that? "What'd you do this morning?" Can she answer that? No. And then she gets nervous and she asks the question she asks 50 times a day, "Where are my children?" And then the neighbor lady, who they've been friends for years, says, "Well, Shirley lives in Alabama." Mm-hmm. Yes, Shirley lives in Alabama, and Richard moved to Connecticut. You remember? How does this make this person feel when you ask them to remember? Can I tell you something? They don't know there's anything wrong with them until you show up and ask them to remember. Mm-hmm. How many years do you think a neighbor has been visiting with, "What'd you have for lunch today?" Or Tiffany has been visiting with, "Mom, what'd you do this weekend?" The other thing I'm going to encourage Tiffany not to do is say, "Mom." I'm going to encourage her to say, "Marilyn, tell me why." Yeah, you're not identifying. No one's asking you to identify as anyone, correct? I kind of want Tiffany to be whoever you think Tiffany is. Because Tiffany might end up, you might think she's your sister. They might think a grandchild is their daughter. It's our role to just be whoever they think we are. Okay, so there comes a time when they ask the same question 50 times a day, over and over and over again. Maybe their question 50 times a day is, "Where's my mom?" Your whole goal is to figure out who they're looking for, who is it, what is it. Now, how can I make them feel like that person is perfectly okay? How would you make them feel like their mom is okay in this moment? Where would their mom be in their generation? Shopping. Quite possibly not. In their generation, did their mamas go shopping? When you get there and you have dementia, your mom will be shopping. But for their generation, where were their mamas? In the kitchen. In the kitchen. Where else might their mama be? It's okay to make mistakes, because short-term memory loss, you've made a lot of them. Short-term memory loss, it teaches you what not to do, and then you get do-over after do-over after do-over. Nicely done. Maybe their question, yes? At the neighbor's house, absolutely. But it's even better to say at Marilyn's house. Do you see how when you say the neighbor's house, they might not know who you're talking about? So it's important to have the names. It's important to have Tiffany's name. Because maybe Marilyn's worried about Tiffany, right? And I can tell that she's worried about Tiffany. So I'm going to ask Tiffany, where would you be after school if you weren't at home? Because your mama wants you. So where would Tiffany be after school if she wasn't at home that you were okay with?
At a friend's.
But you can't say at a friend's, because there's a lot of friends and we're not really sure we want her at his friend's house, right? So the friend that you liked. Betty Ann. So when you're worried, I'm going to say, you know what, Tiffany went to Betty Ann's house. That lets her know that Tiffany is okay. So let's do this. Let's say he's taking care of his wife at home, right? And in this moment, she's younger. She's not quite sure who he is. And she'll be nice to him for about 10 minutes, but So how old is she in her mind? 20s, and she's confused, and then you try to reason with her, because she says, "When are you going to leave?"
And she'll say, "Are we married?"
Are we married? Yeah. And so you try to reason with her, and you say, "We've been married for 60 years," and she's just like, she's going to be nice, but she's thinking, "I got to get out of here, because this man's crazy," because she's looking for which man? The 20-year-old. Okay, so now let's think about where her memories are at. In your 20s, where did you live, you and her?
St. Paul and Maryland Avenue in an apartment.
St. Paul, Maryland Avenue, an apartment. And so now you might be living here, correct? But where in this moment might she believe she's living? Or at that first apartment that you had. So whose responsibility is it then to talk about grandparents and siblings instead of the grandkids who came to see her yesterday? Ours. Because this is where her memory is. This is where her memory is. Here's the deal. This is a disease. Can you fix it? No. So who's going to have to let almost everything go? For the first time in your life, just plant your smile right here.
I know.
And just kind of say, I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee. Would you like one? Yes! There is no fixing. Yes, there's no fixing or correcting, because I'm going to tell you, let's do this for fun. Let's say they say, where's my mom? And she's no longer living. And you let them know she's no longer living. How does that make her feel in this moment when you tell them the person that they want is no longer living?
She feels alone.
She feels alone. Nobody said anything. She's upset. Nobody took me to the funeral. Why didn't you take me? Did I go? Does she change when you correct her? And if she feels angry, upset, alone, insecure, how does she function? Poorly. If she's not functioning, who suffers the repercussions? So then you've got to recognize that they're doing the best they can with the memories they have left. The memories they have left, their mom is still alive. The memories they have left, their husband is a young, handsome beau. So who's the only one that can change in this equation? We are the only ones who can change in this equation. And we got to keep changing our response until we find the one that calms them down. Okay? Maybe they're thinking 50 times a day. They're just mad. You have no idea what happened. Your sister could have made them mad. Someone could have called. You just know that they're mad. Don't try to figure it out or fix it. You're basically going, she's mad, he's mad. So when they're mad, that shouldn't have happened. I'm going to check on it. And you don't go check on it and you don't fix it. You just go get a drink. And then maybe they come in and they're sad and they're upset and they're crying and they're really just distraught and whatever. Don't ask them what's wrong. No, you simply just say, I am so sorry that that happened. I am so sorry that that happened. And you let them cry. Don't fix it. She's not suffering. Guess who people who are suffering on this journey? The caregivers. It's much more difficult to be a caregiver and watch this happen and feel alone and you don't know how to respond to this. Much more difficult. The person with dementia, they're in a whole nother world, a whole nother time. And they might be upset and they might have these feelings, but they're fleeting. You're dealing with this 24/7. So research shows that if you try to do this by yourself 24/7, you'll end up in the hospital. You'll end up in the hospital. But the other thing that caregivers are exhausted. Exhausted. They don't even know how to do the next step. And so if I know someone who's caregiving, I'm going to ask them very specifically, what are 5 things that would make it easier for you? 5 things that you need that would make this journey easier for you. And you might say, you know what, I wish people would drop off lasagna and wine and run. Because I don't want them to stop by. Because when they stop by, now I got to be the host to them, and we're all trying to act like there's nothing wrong. Plus it upsets the person, and you have to deal with that when that person leaves. They'll be nice to anybody for that half hour, act perfectly great for the time when anybody stops by. Oh, and you know when you have family in other states, they'll call on the phone. And they'll have wonderful conversation. And then they'll get you on the phone and say, wow, Mom sounds great. You must be doing great. You look great. You must be doing great. How do you think that makes the person feel who's with them 24/7 and other people don't actually think that it's that bad? You look like you're doing great. They don't get it. But they can't get it because they're not with the person. They don't want to know. They don't want to know. That is another reality. Here's the thing that I would do if you are in this situation where other people think in other states that it's not that bad. Literally, you've started, this is a good idea. You break your arm and you let them know, you know what, I cannot do this for the next, it's going to take me about, 2 weeks to recover. And you know what? And my wife has to work, so I need your help, right? I'm going to tell you, it's going to take 4 hours. 4 hours. When they stop by.
Music therapy.
Music therapy, By the way, I'm not working when your generation gets there and we have all these cell phone issues. Not going to be there. Not doing it. But I'm letting you know that this is a perfect deal right here. Because not until family sees that he can't do it, they're going to blame him for everything. And also the person he's caring for is going to blame him for everything. So he's got to get that family to come hang out, but you got to go check into a hotel. Because if you're still in the premise and they see you, they're going to act perfectly fine as long as they can see you, because they'll do, as long as they can see you, you have to leave so they don't see you. And I'm going to tell you, this one daughter, she said, you know what? I hope my brother comes up and I hope mom poops.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was even flabbergasted when she said it. I was like, wow, okay. She goes, because I'm tired of them not seeing what I'm experiencing. And not until they see what you're experiencing will they actually believe that it's happening. So you have to leave and let them feel it, see it like you were seeing it. I'm going to tell you, people don't know how to help. And you have to recognize, in a family unit, every sibling has a gift, something they're pretty good at, right? So you can't ask your brother to be the caregiver. And you can't, you know what I mean? But he can do the finances, or he can do research on the internet. So how can we ask people around us to help us, but to do something that they're able to do? Because if you're just ticked that they're not helping, wasted energy. You might as well go fishing with that energy. Go fishing and do that, because you're stewing underneath here. They're not feeling a thing. But you've got to ask yourself, okay, what's my sister really good at? In my family, my sister's the nurse. So when we had a meeting with our parents, before they lose the ability to communicate, we met with our parents and we wanted to find out what they want, where do they want to live, how do they want to be taken care of. Because I'm going to tell you, before that moment, my dad was like you all. He's like, oh, you all will handle it. I got 6 kids. You guys can handle it. Oh, Dad, you think 6 kids can agree upon how to take care of you? What is my dad asking for? Impossible. And conflict. He's asking for us to fight because everybody knows my sister and I don't agree. Correct? So here's the thing. Y'all got to write down. Some of you are right around the corner to someone taking care of you. Guess what? If you don't tell anybody else what you want, guess who gets to decide? Your kids. And you only maybe have 2, right? You're thinking that should work. Can they agree upon how to take care of you? Absolutely not. It is your role to write down what works, what doesn't work, what sets them off, what calms them down. Because even if you're the caregiver and you don't write this stuff down, guess who believes they're the only one who can do this? And that's not a true statement. You have to allow other people to help. You have to allow other people to help. But you gotta be very specific on how you would like people to help. And that, again, going back to that point, I would like someone to take my laundry. I would like to have a break on Thursdays, Tuesdays, Saturdays in the afternoon so I can take a nap or go play cards, whatever. But if you don't tell people how you need help and you're just mad that they're not helping, they don't have the opportunity. One lady, she's like, oh, I know why my mom doesn't eat breakfast, because she always had hot water and cheese sandwich for breakfast. Who knows to give anybody hot water and cheese sandwich for breakfast? I mean, these are things that are specific to your family. And so often people say, I don't know how to take care of this person. I say, you know what? How did they take care of you? How did they take care of you? How did she show you she loved you? How did they put you to bed? How did they give you a bath when you were little? How did this person take care of you? Maybe you had a bad day at school. Maybe you crashed your car. Let's not go extreme because your arm's broken. But let's just like think of something simple. You know, you just maybe lost a football game. I don't really know. But when you got home, how did your mom or dad show you that they loved you? They may have listened, right? When you ranted, they may have made you food, but what kind of food did they make you specifically to make you feel good, correct? Because consider how they took care of you. How your wife took care of you is quite possibly what? How they want to be taken care of. People, we're not here to get them to live for 5, 10 more years. We are not. So if they're diabetic and they want their ice cream, pretty sure that's why we created insulin. Let them have what they want to have. This is their journey. When you try to get them healthy, no more cigarettes, no more vodka, no, sit down, you might fall. Who's that about? Me. You. It's about you. Because you're trying to, keep them safe, keep them healthy. Okay, when you get to be their age and you have dementia or Alzheimer's, do you want me to do that for you? Keep you safe, keep you healthy? No, sit down, you might fall. No, you've already had 3 bowls of ice cream, you can't have any more. No, that's not your stuff. No. Do any of you want to, here's your vitamin B, here's your Aricept, here's all your medications. Do you want me to keep you safe and healthy for 5 more years, which is an illusion, but we can do it? Or how many of you, when you get to be their age and have Alzheimer's, you really kind of want what you want, and you want someone to shut the damn door? Because you like your bed, you like your pillow, you really don't want to get up today. But then people ask me all the time, oh, they haven't gotten out of their bed. Count your many blessings, name them one by one. Because they could be up out of bed, walking out the front door, walking 2 blocks, and now they're going to hit you if you try to even walk with them. Who's creating the suffering?
We are.
We are, by wanting what?
What we want.
Wanting what we want, which is different than what they want. Which is different than what they want. So I challenge you to take the word no, don't, and remember out of your vocabulary. And if no one is physically getting hurt by what they're doing right now, physically getting hurt, what do you all need to do?
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
That's what I'm trying to
Leave it alone. And it's a great practice. It is a great practice in life to just leave all people alone. Let them be who they are. Who cares if they're wearing 3 sweaters and a coat and a bra on the outside? You were just going to say that. Who cares? Nobody's physically getting hurt. You're so sick of that pink dress, you're like, throw it out.
I didn't learn that right away.
You didn't learn it right away. No, did you try to throw out her outfit?
Well, yeah.
And what happened? Did she just forget about it?
She got angry.
She got angry, and who suffered the repercussions? Until what? You actually gave her the outfit?
I
Back.
just let her dress the way she wanted to.
Amen.
Except when she goes out, then I monitor a little bit.
When she goes out, we might monitor a little bit, but here's the deal. You're going to say, you know what? And what's your name?
Mark.
Mark. He's coming over. He's kind of handsome. I think he wants to take you out tonight. That would be a reason she would understand to get washed up and cleaned up. If she's having a moment where she doesn't know who you are, you get to say what you know in the past would have given her a reason to get cleaned up. So then when we have a caregiver, guess what they can do if they want your wife to get cleaned up? They can say, you know what, Mark's coming tonight. He's kind of handsome. Let's make you look beautiful. Because if she's 19 in her mind, if she's young in her mind, this is going to be something she understands.
Well, that's so true.
And so you have to be gentle with yourself, thinking, wow, she makes it sound easy. Yeah. Not with my own. Okay. Please don't try to go back and do everything. Just kind of take one thing. Maybe you're just going to go buy a cast. That's it. You're thinking, I'm going to go to the store and get a cast. It's your sister.
My brother that is the demented person. It's my sister.
So you're going to go buy your sister-in-law a cast. Yes, that's maybe one of the things that you want to do. Let me clarify. I'm just saying, take one thing that you heard today and you think, you know what, that I probably could work on. Or maybe I'm just going to make a list on how people can help me. I could probably do that. Or maybe I could start writing down in a notepad things that set her off, calms her down. One thing. And I hope that you'll get a better day tomorrow. That's all we're shooting for. The book that I wrote called Creating Moments of Joy, my mind is in this book. Everything that you just want to write down who they are. Some of you around the corner, you're going to want to fill out your own book, but these are tidbits from many other family members who have already been through the journey to help you through it. I so thank you for your time. I do have to catch a plane, so I will have about 10 minutes to sign and sell books. And thank you for coming. I appreciate it.